talk is really about a project that was started in 2007. I think we should take off one of these slides. That was intended to offer some assistance to a community in a developing country that had a great need for legal services for women and children. And we decided to help by creating this legal aid center. It was 6 persons, and this place happens to be my hometown, Linden, Guyana, so I had an interest in participating with the others in order to see if we can bring some assistance to this very depressed community. So we went down there and we started the center, we incorporated the center, and UNICEF came on board because of its interest in women and children. And so that was a great assistance to us, a great impetus for us to be able to continue to provide the service. This is the logo that we came up with. Service to humanity is the highest calling is our sort of mantra, and it fits nicely in with the university's commitment to expanding itself into the adjoining community as well as worldwide because of its commitment to improving the lives of people. It's not just for disseminating information and helping students to become educated and prepare themselves for the workforce. There's a responsibility as a member of the human race to take that information and education and use it to benefit others. So the university is expanding itself beyond the community here in Flint, beyond the United States and internationally. And this is something that is not unique to the university. It's also being done by many other universities right here in Michigan. So we came up with this logo to represent what we were doing and also to serve as a kind of a impetus or encouragement for those who would be participating in the project. When they, later on, when the University of Michigan-Flint students started to work on the project, this logo was very much improved, as you will soon see. I don't know why it keeps going back here, but I'm trying to expand the screen on this one so you can see.
Slideshow.
Put slideshow, Joe. I'm doing at the top. Put slideshow right there at the top, very top.
Okay.
Put that there. Right, put that. And then click from current slide. Put that. Yeah, put that. Then you can press that down arrow keys and go to the next slide.
See, I don't have this external mouse. Okay, thanks very much. Okay. This country is called Guyana. It is in South America. There's some posters up on the wall that shows you some of the sites and some of the places of interest. And we just highlighted the name, which means it's an Amerindian word meaning land of many waters. And the country does have many waters indeed, many waterfalls, many rivers. It's 90% of the country is virgin rainforest that is being preserved under this low carbon development strategy. And so the country is extremely beautiful, and it is a very unique destination for ecotourism. So we wanted to highlight the meaning of the name. It's situated on the northern coast of South America. It has a land mass of 215,000 square kilometers, which is about the size of Idaho. The estimated population is a little under 1 million, about three-quarters of a million. And the makeup of the population represents the colonial history of this country. Native Amerindians who were there first, before Columbus came, and the country was discovered, the New World, they make up about 9.2%. Mixed races, that's a function of the history where African slaves were brought to work on sugar plantations mainly. And slavery was abolished in 1834. And marriages were legalized between whites and descendants of slaves by the 1840s. So there was a lot of racial intermarrying, and this is a group that is really represented by a race called the mulattoes. I don't know if you ever heard that name, but it's very common in the Caribbean where there have been centuries of racial intermixing. And so the descendants of these people tend to be mixtures, and that's the mixture we're referring to. There's also another group of mixed race people which consists of East Indian immigrants and their descendants, because after slavery was abolished, East Indians were brought from India to work on the plantations. Their descendants intermarried with the descendants of African slaves, and so we have a combination of East Indian and black, and they're called doubler actually. They have very curly hair. But this mixed race identification in our census is really the mulattoes, who became an entrenched and powerful group after the slavery era. And they were preferred to the descendants of slaves for positions in the civil service and so forth. So, they became very rich and very powerful. And so this classification was used to describe them. Many of them had white fathers and black mothers. Then the Africans, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. These were the descendants of African slaves that were freed in 1838. There were 4 years of emancipation, of an emancipation period. And these people were the Africans. They bought land, they combined their resources, they bought land and they established little villages. And they make up the second largest group, racial group in the population. The East Indians were descendants of East Indian immigrants who were brought to work on the plantations, and they were treated very similar to the slaves, except that they were not owned by their masters. And their descendants actually make up the largest portion of the population. And then there's a varying amount of Europeans who were from the old population mix, descendants of Portuguese who would come, there are Chinese entrepreneurs who would come to engage in businesses in the country after slavery was abolished, and others of different nationalities. So in this picture, why I thought it was a very good picture, it really shows you, gives you a representation of the different races in the population. I don't know, I've already forgotten how to do this. Right. Good. I have to try and not lose it again. It really shows you the mix in the population, where the majority are people of color, but there's still a small quantity of Europeans, and now we're having a lot of white Americans, entrepreneurs coming to invest in the country since the modern period, which started after independence in 1966. This is what the country looks like. This is the South American continent, and it is bounded by Venezuela, Suriname, and the Atlantic Ocean. And this is the place, Linden, where the legal aid center is. This is Georgetown, the capital of the country. So I'll show you the map in many different ways. Taking a world view, this is the country in relation to the United States, Florida. These are the Caribbean islands, Cuba. This is Hispaniola, which consists of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And the one closest to Guyana is Trinidad. So the cultural influences are varied because you have Latin American influences from these Latin American countries. You have influences from the Caribbean. And so the culture is very much a mixed culture. As you can see, Brazil is right next door, the bottom here, and Suriname, French Guiana. All these countries were colonized by the British.